It's a wonderful day for a podcast, they say, with Luke and Joe Raptor. Hi, how you doing?
It totally is a beautiful, wonderful day. Good to be back. We had some scheduling issues. You were getting a cool water bottle at the
Oh
Avatar
yeah,
event. I saw. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
wow. Yeah. I thought it was like you started your video saying maybe you already saw it, and I was like, okay, no. How am I supposed to? It was
Yeah.
like super far in the background.
And it's so
Like,
like bokeh'd out that you can't
yeah.
see anything. Like, how did you not
Yeah.
know? I was so clear. I hinted so strongly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, cool.
But yeah, we've been away. We've been apart, parting in such sweet sorrow for a while.
Yeah.
And it's been because I was traveling, and then last week I was viciously sick. You guys tuned in early to the stream last Wednesday, and like my voice was hanging on by a thread. So I'm still a little sick. I'm pretty doped up on Dayquil right now, and trying to dig myself out of it. But yeah, everybody I know is sick right now. I don't know if it's just in the air or what, but everybody I know has like lost their voice and has a bad cough. It's crazy.
But yeah, I've been feeling that as well. I've felt like a little sick as well, but I've been just trying to rest a bit here and there, and then getting out of it slowly without like really taking the day off or anything.
That's good.
Because it's not like that crazy, but the weather here is getting pretty cold as well. That of course, I mean, a lot of rain here. Sometimes like I'm still not sure what I should wear. Sometimes I'm going for the winter jacket, and then I'm like, wait, it's way too hot. And then the other day it's like way too cold. So yeah, struggles.
Yeah.
But how have you been? Of course, the last time we had the podcast, you of course had some crazy news. I'm not sure if you, of course, the people that are like frequent listeners and viewers of your channel know, but maybe some podcast listeners don't. I'm not sure if you want to discuss it. Also, one of the reasons why we, of course, were away for a bit.
Yeah. So, I guess, that's a good point. There's probably a handful of things as of 2 weeks ago, if people mainly listen to the show, they might not be aware of. For one, I'll just say the cat came back. Mr. Finley did come back. We found him, so he's okay. Don't know what he was doing for 2 weeks, but he was off dinking around somewhere, so he's okay. As for the kind of cool secretive thing I was alluding to before, 2 weeks ago, we were going on a trip the day. No, it would have been a few days after, but we went on a trip to Los Angeles, Jacob and I, to the Lightstorm Entertainment Studios in Los Angeles. And it's the actual studio where they make like the Avatar films, and where they don't call him James Cameron there. Everybody calls him Jim Cameron, because apparently that's what he likes to be called. So it's Jim Cameron. But it's where he works. Apparently he was going to be there, but he had to be off in New Zealand, where he is right now filming the third movie, which I thought was funny. But we got to tour the studio, including a private collection of stuff that he has from all of the movies he's made. Whether you're talking about like Terminator 2 or Avatar or Titanic, like all of that stuff is there. The original set pieces, the original models used on camera, all sorts of just craziness. Really, really cool. The original Oscar from 1997 for Best Picture for Titanic, all that stuff was there. So super cool. And then we got to sit on a big panel with John Landau, a bunch of other guys, and executives with Lightstorm and developers and stuff. And it was really, really cool. Then we got to play the game, talk to devs, do an interview with the developers, and do kind of a deep dive on Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. And it was super, super cool. And so now Joe Raptor and I can both talk about Avatar, a game that is only about a week away. And we both played it at this point. It looks like we played the same demo. I might have played a newer version of that demo, but it was the same slice of the game. So we'll
I'm not
probably
sure
have similar stuff.
Yeah, if it was like a newer version.
I don't know.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, it was kind of unclear. They wouldn't say much about it, understandably, but I also did. I mentioned this in my video. I did get to play it twice. Once doing like the main story stuff, and then again because the Lightstorm Entertainment guys, after I'd played it, I got pulled off to go and do the interview with Drew Reckner, the associate game director. And then when I came back, the media team for Lightstorm Entertainment wanted to get a bunch of videos of me playing the demo and then doing an interview about my time with the demo. And so they're like, yeah, you can just hop back on it, start playing again, and we'll just film you playing it and stuff. So I just got to hop on the demo again, and I was like, yeah,
whoa,
twist my arm, why don't you? Don't know if
was it better the second time?
yeah, it was. I actually had I think a more interesting experience the second time around, because I wasn't focused on doing like the main story mission thing that they assigned you to, but rather just going off and exploring and dinking around, and discovered some kind of cool stuff. But I guess before I get into all of that, if you want to give everybody kind of a refresher of your take on the game, and then I can offer kind of my perspective.
I first want to say one more thing, because people saw me like use the phone. I post like a story on Instagram that we are live, because also there's now the Spotify Wrapped. So if you have been listening to Spotify, you can like see the sort of music you've listened to, but also the podcast. And we actually got some people that are like the top fans for our show here. So that's really cool to see, because we, of course, it feels like we're still relatively new. So some people spend like 2,000 minutes or even more listening our show. So that's awesome. If you got one of those, send it our way on the socials or wherever. But yeah, Avatar, like I played it earlier in, when was it? Like October, I think.
I think so.
Or like end of October. So yeah, similar demo. And my takeaway was that I think the whole Avatar part works really well. So the sort of the world looks very pretty. I think the music is amazing. Like they really did a great job there. And just seeing the Na'vi and how they interact with the world, you're really, I think the first person view really works for the cutscenes in particular, because you're way more immersed in the sort of crazy things that you do. Of course, with your hair, you plug it into many things, and that of course works a bit better when you see it through your own eyes. And I think like getting the Ikran, the mount, and really like trying to tame that works really well in first person. Flying around, I thought was pretty cool too. So I thought the sort of like they nailed the sort of Avatar feeling, and I think for a lot of people that will already be enough. But I, as someone who played like a lot of the Ubisoft games, I would say all the big open world ones, was expecting a bit more in terms of the next step for that, because this is the first new generation Ubisoft game, and we see that in terms of graphics, but we're not really seeing that in terms of design. It really feels like a game that is still stuck in the maybe even pre-Valhalla type of era for Ubisoft, where they have RPG elements, where I'm still not sure if where are the gear rarities for a game where I can shoot a soldier and kill them with one bullet? Why do I need 10% more damage or something? So I'm still not really sure about those things. And also just, I'm already kind of seeing what this is going to be. The world is big, but I also feel that it's really like, okay, they put like one of those spots where you have to save like one of those big creatures. They put them there and there and there, and make sure that they're not like too close to each other, but that you will come across them pretty often. And so far I haven't seen why the one that I found in this forest is different from the ones that I found in the more open plains area, right? So what how are they going to change that up? Also, one of the things that I think Far Cry also always kind of it hurts that series is that there's only one enemy faction you fight, and I'm really scared that with the RDA is being the only faction you fight in Avatar, that if this game is really 30 hours or something, it will get old pretty fast. So there are still like a lot of things that I'm worried about. And I also thought one of the things, because it is this super dense, pretty looking world, the navigation was really hard because sometimes you see like a sort of glow in the distance, and then it's like, okay, I'm just gonna go there, but then turns out you have to walk like do through another path and get around the mountain instead of just climbing up. So it wasn't really clear for me sometimes where I had to go, because the world just looks very similar everywhere you look, and there was no like mini map or anything. So those were kind of my issues in the short time. Of course, we were thrown in an early part of the game, but still without any tutorials. So maybe if you play from moment one, it will be way better. But those were kind of my feelings. I hope that the sort of like issues that I had, will go away playing the full game. But I've also seen these Ubisoft games very often, and the trailers are all the same. So it really feels like they've shown everything already that the game has to offer, sadly.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think there's, you raised a lot of very good points. I think for some of the smaller details, like, density of foliage was cool. For other things like music and things, they definitely know what they're doing. As for probably my biggest question mark, you're right, there are some weird things like 10% improved damage output and stuff like that. Like, what does that actually mean to the player? But when I asked like them what did they think players, or like I asked Drew Reckner, basically head of the game design side of it, I asked him, what is the thing you feel like needs to be discussed most with the game? What is the part of this that you feel has not gotten attention, that you feel like people need to be aware of, that's going to be crucial to them enjoying the game? What do you think his answer was? I'm really curious. What do you think he said? Because I don't think you'll be right. It
No?
surprised me.
What was it? The part where he did
No, that was funny. He said the cooking system.
Oh.
I was like, what? The cooking system is like the crucial part of this game? And he like, I didn't say that, of course. I was like, could you expand on that? And basically, it makes sense now. But like, basically, like, how do they encourage you to explore the world? They encourage you to explore the world by all of the stuff you find and like forage while exploring the world, or hunting animals and skinning them and getting the meat. And the way, like, the reward for doing those things is that you get ingredients that you can cook with to give you gameplay benefits. So that's why you engage with the open world, is so you can get cooking benefits and ingredients and stuff. But all of that hinges on whether or not there's a reason to make meals and to cook. Like in Monster Hunter World, there's a reason to cook because it gives you tangible benefits in gameplay that are very crucial. I mean, it's the difference between you succeeding in the hunt and not. So you're going to cook pretty much every time you go out. But with this, from what I could tell, it's like you mentioned, like a 10% running speed increase, or stealth is improved by 50%, whatever the hell that means. Yeah. And so if they can't find a way to make the stealth worth, or the cooking meal benefits actually tangible and something the player wants to engage with, the core element of the open world exploration, collecting ingredients, is like out the window. Nobody gives a crap, because the only reason you do that is to cook meals. But if there's no reason to cook meals, why are you going to engage with the open world at all, other than for the sake of doing it? So the sliver we got to play, at least for me, I didn't feel like was a big enough slice to get a feeling for whether the benefits of cooking meals were tangible and worth engaging with. But it definitely was not like Monster Hunter, where I play Monster Hunter for one hunt and I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I need to cook a meal before I go out every single time. In this, the game felt at times way too easy and at other times way too difficult, weirdly balanced. And so maybe, again, that's just an artifact of the demo. It's not the actual game. It's a slice. So maybe in the actual game it works better, but I don't know, man. There's definitely some question marks.
And that comes back to what I said. Like, my feeling is mostly based on the previous Ubisoft games, and of course a lot of people like compare this to Far Cry, which I think is valid. And in those games, the cooking, like in Far Cry 6, was also just a nice benefit. Like, want to do the Spec Ops mission faster? Yeah, go get some food so you run a bit faster or get some more healing when you do like a bandage or whatever. But that was not like needed to complete the mission. And I'm not sure if like I haven't seen like I don't think they've talked about like yeah, there are these huge world bosses or whatever in the world that you have to go hunt. And for these, no, I don't think those are there. I think the biggest creatures that you hunt are the ones that are captured. And I'm not sure if you try that too, like freeing them and then hunting them. But those are just running away. Like those are not scary at all.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
I don't know. Yeah.
In like the panel, there were a handful of things in the panel that they followed up with and said that we couldn't talk about because it was really funny. Like there were people from Lightstorm who are on the movie side of things and I don't think are used to like speaking to the press or media, which is why we weren't allowed to record the panel interview. Because like John Landau, the executive producer, he's been the executive producer on like 3 of the top 4 highest grossing films of all time. Like he's a Hollywood legend. And he was there and he was talking about stuff. And let's just say he probably said 4 or 5 things that the PR team had to follow up on and be like, can you guys just like ignore that, please? We're like, he was really excited and passionate, but he like was saying stuff that maybe was not accurate or that he was exaggerating on or like this or that. But he just got like so into it and so excited that he was throwing stuff out. But like what they at least suggested during that in a non-problematic portion of the panel was that there was a lot more stuff that has not been seen publicly in terms of like encounters. Whether that means like now you fight 30 helicopters instead of 4, or if that means like entirely unique enemies, I don't know. But they suggested many times that there was a lot we have not seen yet. I hope that's true as well.
I hope so too, because yeah, we heard that before. I remember like one of the things was like in Valhalla they said we have 26 enemies or something like that. That was like one of the big marketing beats, and then you figure out that it's like, oh, but now this soldier has a shield. So yeah, sure, there were some cool enemies, but for a game that was 100 hours, there was still not a lot. We know about some RDA, some of the amp suits, that you have different variants of those. So the ones that we could fight were just like the regular versions that would just shoot at you. But there are also ones that have like a flamethrower and more like flame grenades, or one that is like a sort of general. So they are a bit more tanky, and then when they are close to low health, they will go rush at you, kind of berserk. So they do cool twists like that. So I hope that's enough. But also things like the weapons, even in like the pre-order guide or the preview guide that we got before playing, they were already like, these are the weapons, and there are like an assault rifle, a shotgun, and a rocket launcher, and you have the bow, the large bow. You have the spear thrower and like one of those other Navi weapons, and that's it. And I'm curious, like, is there really not like a cool, unique weapon that you find in a mysterious cave that you have to solve a puzzle first or something? Mm-hmm. I hope there is stuff like that, and that we are surprised. But usually they do tease that stuff in trailers, and if you watch those trailers, it's always, oh, you start as a Navi abducted by the RDA. Now you're out in the world. There are 3 regions that you go to. Here you get your Ikron, then you get your Dire Horse, and then you go to the darker plains area or whatever. And I hope there are many surprises left. We will be surprised next week. The game is out.
Yeah, it's out the 7th, so same day as the Game Awards, I think.
Yeah. So then we will know, and I'm sure what our impressions will be. I really hope that I'm way higher. Like, I'm also kind of I'm going in with very low expectations, I guess, and I hope they exceed that. It's just that this just feels like I've been in this preview cycle before, so I hope there's more to it.
Yeah, no, I'm staying cautiously optimistic, and it's really easy. Do you want to say hi to everybody? You can say hi to everybody. Mr. Orion Wild is coming to say hi.
Whoa.
Oh no, he's sad. He's okay. He doesn't like the lights. But no, I think it's really easy to just blindly dismiss it because it's a Ubisoft game with guns and Smurfs, and I can understand that proclivity. But with all of these games, I mean, if we don't give every game a fair shot, like we're just haters. And, you know, if it's a buggy mess and it's broken and horrible, I'm sure we will have lots of fun making fun of it. But what I played was actually pretty polished. There was a good amount of pop in, I will say, but I only encountered one thing that I would consider a bug, which was just a texture glitching out on the arm. Other than that, my time with it was really
Okay.
smooth.
Maybe it was like a better version then.
Because you said your time with it was pretty buggy, right?
Yeah. I also played through Parsec. I want to, by the way, thank Sean. I hope you're still here. Very rare I get to see the podcast live. Love the work you guys do for the insane $50 Australian dollar donation. That's very kind.
Thank you, Sean, for the $50 dues. Sean's a pogger. He's a play of the gamer. For sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thanks.
He's the reason we have the Lego Titanic.
Jordan, burst out your baby. I should have like a sort of baby born around here somewhere.
Yeah,
like...
yeah, Jordan, where's your
Otherwise,
baby?
it's not. Yeah.
My baby's cooler than yours.
Yeah.
It's good to see you.
No, I can like grab one of my figurines, but it's not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah, you should cradle one of your like the Ivor, or like you've got Alexios or something. Yeah.
No, but again, it's like the December 7th date. It's like there are a lot of things why I think it might be like why launch it not before Black Friday. Like I don't get it. So that's also sort of an extra red flag, I think. But
I mean, there's one thing like that somebody brought up to me, because I said something very similar about there's another game that came out like last December. This was last year, but somebody who is like he's an old person who got a degree in marketing that I went to school with. He was saying one of the considerations is the cost of advertising, and he was like, on projects that he pushes out, he works in the retail space with like physical products, but he was like, for our company, if we're pricing out budgets and we're looking at launching pre-Black Friday versus post, the cost of advertising through like TV, even internet ads and things, the cost of advertising plummets the week after Black Friday, after Cyber Monday. He's like, so you can do a lot more in terms of gross marketing if you wait till after Black Friday. And yeah, you don't get the wave of people on Cyber Monday and, you know, looking online. But he's like, the net positive is that you actually save a lot of money and you can do a lot more marketing for the same price. So that might be a consideration, just to play devil's advocate.
Yeah, sure. No, I'm all open for that. Yeah. No, that could be it. It is Disney though. I'm not sure I don't think they like the money to push a game in November, but we will see what it will be. I just hope that, like, on the other hand, it is like pretty crazy. It is like the first big Ubisoft game since Far Cry 6, so 2 years ago. I don't really count Mirage, which was like, of course, like a smaller thing.
Very successful, though, but
we might touch on that a little later. But so that is exciting. Like always having a game like that, we know there are 2 expansions coming, so it's getting the full support. Did you hear anything about post-launch though, like apart from that season pass? Because I think the whole point when they announced the game was, yeah, we're gonna support this game for instead of like making a new game with every movie, which they of course did in the past with movie games. We're now just gonna support this so that when the third movie comes out in 2025, there's like a big update for this game as well. And I don't see that anymore, so it seems like that plan changed. Or
it's really, I would love to be a fly on the wall with those plans and stuff, because you're right, it does feel like they're actively trying to figure out how this is looking long term and how they're going to deal with it. Because I think it's been a much slower process of production than they anticipated. I think working with Lightstorm has been really interesting, but the way they phrased it in that panel interview was literally like, the developers, Andrew Reckner said, we wanted close range enemies, but in the lore, in the movies and everything, there weren't close range enemies for us to use and put in the game. So instead of just making short range enemies, they had to contact and schedule meetings with the designers and executive producers at Lightstorm. They all hop on a conference call, explain their need for close range guys, maybe flamethrowers, maybe this or that. And then they all go away for a week or two. And then they come back, show each of their concept arts. Massive Entertainment sends those designs to Lightstorm. Lightstorm takes them and works with them and messes with them. Another week or two goes by, and then they come back and they share their designs, maybe offer some notes, go back, fix it. And it's like a process of iteration collaboratively, which is great. But you compare that to regular game development when they're like, hey, we need flamethrowers. And they send the team off to make it. And within 3-4 days, they have a prototype of it. So I think
that's probably what happened in Mirage with the flamethrower.
Yeah, exactly.
We need flame. For whatever reason, we need flamethrowers.
Give them a jar. I don't know. Light the jar on fire. Yeah. So I think like it's been a very cool collaborative process because Lightstorm is very involved. So straight up, there's nothing in Avatar Frontiers of Pandora that they have not signed off on. This is not like one of those movie tie-in games where there's just like all of a sudden Severus Snape is driving a Mini Coupe and it's like, is that part of the lore? And they're like, yeah, don't think about it. Don't think about it. Because it's just them making a game and they don't have a lot of supervision. In this case, it is directly supervised. Everything in here is considered canonical and could come up in the films, could be part of that. It's all considered part of the universe, but it has grossly slowed them down, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. And especially for Ubisoft that is used to work on their own franchises where they can just think of everything, which on one end also doesn't work with how, of course, Assassin's Creed was handled between like different teams working on different games at the same time, so that modern day story has to make sense in the other game, and then we see things happen that don't make sense. So yeah, there's like I think a positive to two sides. But if you were working on Division 2 and then you go to Avatar and you're like, what, I can't like change this leaf on this plant because we never saw that in the movies or something, I'm sure that gets frustrating, and that might hammer their ability to push out free content fast or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, and to be clear, I see somebody mentioning it takes weeks to get something done in AAA development. Yes, I agree. I'm not denying that. We're throwing out timelines like I'm not actually scheduling out how long it would take. But what I'm saying is that for a team when they're doing it personally and privately and they're just trying to throw something together, a prototype to test it in the game, that is very different from what they're having to do with Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, which is to go through months of iterative feedback and processes just to get to the point where they could build a prototype because they have to approve every single little thing. So it is way slower to do stuff.
Yeah, it's the same stuff you have to do in AAA development, but then with someone else over your shoulder, and then you have to get the green light from someone else who might not be in the office. I'm already getting tired.
Yeah,
listening to that.
And
like,
also that's like 12 hours behind because I think Massive is based in, is it Sweden? Yeah. So that's right. Like versus LA. So like on the other side of the planet, also juggling all of this and schedules and waiting for feedback. Like it's got to be a nightmare. I tried to ask them during the interviews, and I mentioned this in my video. Like I tried to ask Drew Reckner questions, and of course he's just following the PR line. But the funniest thing was when I asked him like, what was the moment that the game came together for you and clicked? And like he kind of stalls for a second, and then the PR guy standing behind us is like back here and just goes, am I in the camera? Yeah. He just goes.
So for the listeners, Luke is making flying arm like sort of gestures.
Yeah, and like then Drew goes, oh yeah, the Ekron, when that came in and the Banshees were flyable and everything, that was the moment where I was like, oh my god, like if we're just gonna follow exactly what the the PR guy is saying, just have the PR guy do the interview. Like what are we doing?
That's crazy.
It was pretty funny.
That person, that PR guy, was probably not even in the building the moment that they really had that moment that you were asking about. But they thought, oh, the Ekron, that's a cool part because we have the gameplay for that. So
yeah, exactly. That's on all the posters. We'll put that on. Yeah. It was pretty awkward.
Oh man. But I mean, I also like kind of notice it when like getting like in contact with Ubisoft, like asking for like, hey, do you have the trailer for Assassin's Creed or whatever? It's way easier to get in contact about that than when it's about Avatar, because yeah, they have to check it. It's like way faster. Like they cannot post a social media post that the social media team thought of. No, all Lightstorm Entertainment has to think of that as well. Has to. I think that's also maybe why the marketing has been really weird for this game. It's coming out next week. Where is the marketing?
Yeah.
Why are there no trailers? Why is not like everyone running around with like blue paint on their face right now? Where is the what is happening? You sometimes see like a sponsored tweet or whatever, and that's everything. Or not even, because they're like not doing that anymore, but like sponsored instas, I guess. PlayStation is posting quite a lot. Like they got the deal, but
yeah,
it's weird, man. It's
I
weird.
agree. Like I feel like I've seen a lot of commercials and stuff around, but I asked people on stream, I was like, am I crazy? Am I the only one? And apparently I am one of the few people. Like a lot of people are saying that they've not seen a lot of marketing for this, and it's been pretty closed off, which is just surprising to me. But I mean, hopefully they know what they're doing. I just, it's been surprising how they've handled it.
Yeah, but I think like with you talking about this as well, like I think they're happy with the opportunity, and also like they're doing Star Wars Outlaws, but we know that this team is going to Division 3 after this. So maybe like, of course, I mean, it's kind of weird to already announce Division 3 before Star Wars Outlaws is out and Avatar is out. Like maybe internally they're like, yeah, this was a great experience, and Ubisoft kind of needed these games because they're kind of in the mud, and of course having a Star Wars and Avatar game, yeah, it immediately gets sort of like level of attention. But after this, they're probably like, well, let's go back to what we do internally and not have to worry about anything anymore.
Yeah.
And I mean, they still have to do the 2 DLCs. I'm sure the Avatar team will be working on that for like the full year next year, because that second DLC is launching fall 2023. So when Assassin's Creed Red is out, a month later, it's like, hey, come back to Avatar. Yeah, I don't know. Unless the game's like really good, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'll probably still play it.
But let's be honest, you'll probably still play it. Yeah, it's. I would love for it to be successful, because I would love for every game to be successful, and I would love more great games to come out. There have been some weird things with Avatar for sure, but that's also just Ubisoft in general. They've struggled to kind of get their feet under them. And I mean, we're going to find out real soon, because the game's only like a week away. So
I think next week or the week after we will have some thoughts, and of course, keep an eye out on our channels for impressions, and I will be doing a ton of tips and tricks and stuff as well. So before we go to the next topic, I saw some questions. Cooper is saying, is that you and Dave the Diver, the Raptors server? Can you confirm? I wish it was. I wish it was. Like my no, I have not played Dave the Diver, but I'm like, you of course have the whole conversation now. Is it an indie game because it's like funded by Nexon, like one of the Chinese biggest companies? But yeah, it's a great game from what I hear. I might pick it up, but no, that's not me. But what I would love is like to be the Reda of the next Assassin's Creed or so, like something like that. I was contacted once to be in the Discovery Tour for Valhalla. But
that's cool.
Yeah, but that was during COVID. So I know about a German YouTuber, Fragnard. He was in the Wrath of the Druids DLC for Valhalla, but he actually went to a studio, recorded his lines, etc. And I was like, had to do it at home, and I got my script, and it was like, I have no experience in this. How am I supposed to know what is like good or anything? So that did not work out. But never, you never know.
Maybe one day,
maybe we'll show up in a game one day.
Just don't pull a young and then like get it mad when everybody's like, your performance wasn't what I thought, and then just start banning people.
Oh really? Oh, I missed.
Yeah, it was like a whole story. It was a whole thing. Poor young. Okay. Yeah, Skull and Bones. I guess we can touch on that real quick. Let me.
And yeah, I said fall 2023 probably for Avatar DLC. No, it's fall 2024. You are right, Emeraldus.
Dude, right. They're so behind.
Yeah, and Kadi, I mean, they planned to launch it last year, so.
Anyway, let's see. Yeah, we can touch on this real quick. You are right. I mentioned this on the stream just a little bit earlier. It is in fact true. Insider Gaming. We can just touch on this because this was brought up in chat. Insider Gaming has the scoop that Skull and Bones has a release date internally of February 16th, 2024. This wasn't that shocking because they've already confirmed multiple times this was releasing by the end of their fiscal year. That time's out where they pretty much have to shove it out around this time. And
shove it out is like the perfect way to put it. It feels like it.
Just kick it out the door. But yeah, they apparently are doing it. I have spoken and heard from some people that this is pretty much like they're sick and tired of this damn thing and they're ready to be done with it. So I would put, if I were a betting man, I'd put some pretty pennies on this actually happening.
I would put some Game Pass or like some Battle Pass tokens on this because they do have those. The smuggler coin.
Smuggler coin. And they are selling a premium edition of the game that comes with early access and all sorts of stuff.
Of course.
So we'll see. I'm
But I was like, okay, nice. They are finally doing it. I mean, we heard this before. Like, they haven't even announced it officially. It might be like a Game Awards announcement, for all we know. But like, do you know how crazy February is? So this game is already like, it's already hard. But we got like the Suicide Squad just before that, which of course another sort of live service type title. Helldivers 2, another sort of live service type title, February 8th. Then we got the Banisher's Ghost of New Eden. I really hope that's good, because if it's like a 7 or something, I don't see a lot of people picking it up. But that's the new game from Don't Not. I mean, this kind of looks like Remember Me, which was kind of their first AAA title. After that, they of course did Life is Strange, Vampire. So now they're doing another. I mean, we don't get these often, like a brand new IP. Looks a bit like God of War. They once again are focused on the choices, which is kind of cool. So I hope this one works out. But yeah, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth launching in February as well. I mean, there's probably never a good time to launch this game, but hey, they're going for the Mario versus Donkey Kong release date.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, there are people that say they've played it in play tests and have loved it. I mean, I've had
really?
people email me because I made a video where I was like, basically the point of the video was saying, even if the game is pretty good, it is facing such an uphill battle in terms of negative perception with the public that it's almost impossible for this to be a success at this point. Somebody, like actually a handful of people, I don't know if they were connected or not, but a handful of people reached out and emailed me and said, we've played it, we did the play tests, we've been at however many of them, and we think the game has a ton of potential. A lot of people talking about it haven't played it, and so are speaking out of turn and all this. And I did a follow-up video, and I was like, I understand that, and I'm glad that you've played it and liked it, but it doesn't change the fact that the perception for everybody is that this is a game trapped in development hell that doesn't know what it wants to be. And
it's not what we want it to be. That's the biggest thing. You always look at it and you see, what if they spent all this time making an actual Black Flag online game?
Yeah. And then you're
right,
like,
oh.
Yeah. So from the very, very start, you're just, no. It's like, licking a rotten banana and then trying to enjoy tiramisu. And you're like, I mean, the tiramisu is good, but I just still...
And it's $50.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's $50.
I really thought they would go for the Game Pass. Maybe they will still announce a Game Pass thing. I mean, I think for Ubisoft it would be smart to get that money, because I don't think they will sell enough copies to.
Does
they're
Game
probably
Pass
getting
even
like
want
10
it,
million
though?
or something. Yeah, that might be a thing as well.
They might, like Phil Spencer might honestly be like, no, we don't want it.
No, sorry, we have Redfall already. We're good.
Yeah, we're chocked full of mediocre games already. Yeah. I don't know. It's just, there's something weird with it. I think the sooner they dump the baggage, the better. Just get it out. It sucks that they'll lose money on it, but it just is what it is. After that, they can move on to like Prince of Persia, try to make that successful.
Yeah, that's actually launching before that in January,
in January.
already. That looks really cool. I hope they drop like an actual demo so people can try that, because you have to play it to really understand it, because it might be a hard sell otherwise, because it looks like this kind of 2.5D sort of side-scrolling game. They're asking $50 for it as well, same price as Mirage, for example. Like, it's probably worth it in terms of like size and all that sort of stuff, but I think just like the sort of mindset where you're like, I'm gonna spend that on a Prince of Persia game like that. I do think like it's the Rayman Legends developers, like they're great. So I think it's gonna hopefully surprise a lot of people. And I think we talked about that game, um, and like Avatar as well. And I really think that when this financial year for Ubisoft is over, when it's April, things are gonna look way different because then you have Outlaws, Assassin's Creed Red, two potential bangers. So yeah, it's looking up and up. I think the Splinter Cell remake might even launch next year. So that has been in development for some time now. So we're still in that sort of in between moment for Ubisoft. Get the Skull and Bones out.
Yeah,
let's move on.
We know they have a lot of stuff lined up, and it looks like it's all lining up kind of in the immediate term. So in the next 18 months, we should see the fruits of their labor for the last 3-4 years finally coming due and ripening. And so we'll see.
And X-Defiant.
See. Yeah. X-Defiant. Yeah. X-Defiant. We'll see how that goes. I'm very interested in that.
Same.
I mean, kind of following in that same vein, we mentioned Mirage. We saw some interesting numbers come out about Mirage.
It's pretty big. Like, we of course already heard that Ubisoft said in their financial call that it's like doing, according to what they planned. So that's already a good thing. But now it seems to have done even better. Like, my thing mostly was that with the most recent Assassin's Creed games, the RPG ones, after launch, you get DLC and free content. So it's constantly in the news. That's not really happening with Mirage. We do get New Game Plus next month, which is kind of exciting. But apart from that, I was like, will it have the same tail? But it seems to, at least for now, do pretty well. It was the second best-selling game in Europe, beating out Spider-Man 2. And of course, Spider-Man 2 only on PS5, launched 2 weeks later. But still, for Mirage, that started out as a Valhalla DLC, has been in development for 2.5 years. Spider-Man 2, 5 years. Budget way higher. Marketing way higher. I think that's pretty impressive what Ubisoft was able to do with Mirage. And it also shows, if you were a fan of the older games, that, hey, this showed Ubisoft, wait, we can make even more Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah. And people like it. Like, that's crazy. Yeah, it's like, I think Mirage going into it, we all were saying, like, this is not going to be a Game of the Year title. It's not going to blow anybody away. But if it does specifically what it's trying to do, people will have fun with it. It'll be $50 well spent, and you can move on with your year. And that's exactly what I think it did. It was like, fine. It was good. Not great. It was just good. A fun time. Kind of a throwback. And it did what it was trying to do. And I think that in the modern landscape of gaming is so refreshing, because so many of these games are trying to just go balls to the walls because they're so expensive to make. They kind of have to just throw Hail Marys and pray. And so to finally get a game that manages its scope and is not trying to be everything to everybody was refreshing, at least for me. And it's not super long. It's another reason why I'd give Spider-Man 2 some credit, that it's not overly long and bloated. Like, it just does what it's trying to do, and it's just a solid game, you know? It's nice.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also like for a new lead team like Ubisoft Bordeaux. Before this, they did the Wrath of the Druids DLC, which was like a way smaller scope. So we already had someone like they're hiring new people. I think I told this before on the podcast, but they're moving into a bigger studio. So right now they have 450 employees, but they want to go to 700. So they're really like, they're getting bigger. And they actually hired like a new person who said, hey, I'm going to be a lead writer on the Assassin's Creed franchise. And this was like a month and a half after Mirage came out. So they're already making more Assassin's Creed over there. I mean, they can, of course, help out with like one of the 100 Assassin's Creed Red expansions they will probably do. But I'm sure that the lead team there got the green light for like, okay, now let's show us what you can do if you have the 4-year development cycle, a way bigger budget. You don't have to make a game of the bones of an RPG. Go ham, right? I think that would be very exciting.
Yeah. I mean, and it's crazy to think that with Ubisoft, we're talking about a company where like they're their B team and C teams are still hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of employees.
Oh yeah, 500 people worked on Mirage.
Yeah. Like
Like
to
yeah,
put that in
that's
perspective,
crazy.
like I think Starfield, what's BGS at? Like 320 employees or something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
I'm like, why? Like, they know, they must know that if they, I mean, obviously scaling is like easier said than done, but I do think that game, I think Starfield probably made its money. Like, it's of course a weird thing, but for example, Fallout 4 made its money back in one day.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not like scale up and have a team work on Elder Scrolls and the other one try Fallout already? Like, why keep it so small?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm too. Maybe that's too.
I mean, I did.
Capitalism minded. But...
yeah, calm down, Mr. Warbucks here. Yeah, I mean, the latest count apparently is somewhere between 250 and 500. Some people are saying, this one says as of November 2023, BGS has 450 employees. Okay, so it's somewhere in there. And I don't know if that includes the Austin team. No, I think this is specifically.
But they are doing 76 or not?
Yeah, they're the 76 team. And then they have another team, I think, in Montreal that does their mobile stuff, like for Fallout Shelter and that. But I mean, with all this, it is definitely harder to scale up. And every time you scale up, you have to figure out who's the decision maker. And we looked at it on stream recently, where it was specifically, they were talking about Todd Howard and his role in the studio and how he desperately does not want to be the final decision maker, but he is, because he's Todd freaking Howard. And so everybody goes to him for the final say on things for Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6, Fallout 76, all of this stuff. And so they're kind of limited by how much he can do. And as much as he's tried, and to his credit, it seems like he really has tried, they haven't been able to shake that. And he's still, at the end of the day, the one that is making the decisions. So they're just not able to scale up.
Yeah, but for example, like Insomniac, they made a separate team for Miles Morales, while the Spider-Man 2018 team was working on 2. Obviously, there was some overlap, but like the Brian Intihar, the director on the first game, I don't think he was like really directly involved. Obviously, they still had talks, but he was like knees deep working on the Venom story, while Brian Horton was like working on, or Brian Horton, I think, was like working on Miles, and now that team is doing Wolverine. So they were able to figure that out, and Sony is reaping the benefits of that, because Insomniac is gonna launch another million seller in 2 years, and then in 2 years after that they have Spider-Man 3. Like,
I mean,
that's wild.
I think I agree, like they've done it very, very well, but I think the more direct comparison between BGS and Todd Howard being like this cult of personality at the top is probably Neil Druckmann and Naughty Dog, because for them scaling up has been also a little difficult, where they have a secondary team that did Lost Legacy. They had the core team working on The Last of Us Part 2. And then now it seems like they've had separate teams that spun off and did The Last of Us Part 1. And then they had a new hires project for the remaster of The Last of Us Part 2, while they haven't, the team working on the multiplayer. But then apparently they also have like Neil's team is working on the single player game. So it's like, who exactly is working on the multiplayer? So I think they've also struggled with scaling up and figuring out how to do that. And I think it's just an artifact of scaling up when your studio is kind of based around a guy and, him being in control of a lot of this. From Software, they were able to do it with Armored Core, where Hidetaka Miyazaki worked on the pre-production and then moved on to Elden Ring and the secondary stuff for that. Hideo hasn't really been able to do it, but Kojima Productions is still pretty small, so I guess that's not direct. But it's just tough.
You all see it with like the Assassin's Creed games. They're huge as well, and like every studio has their sort of leadership that moves on from one to the other, and like they were able to crank out Origins the year after that, Odyssey, and then 2 years later Valhalla, in the time that The Witcher and Cyberpunk like came out. It's actually crazy, because I think Witcher came out in the same year as Syndicate, then Origins came out, then Odyssey, then Valhalla, and after that Cyberpunk. So
Yeah.
Ubisoft was able to make 4 Assassin's Creed games in the time that CDPR made Cyberpunk,
Yeah,
which is kind of crazy.
it is madness.
Not that that's
yeah.
like a good thing we should all like chase, but it is interesting to see how some companies operate and how I think like the Ubisoft formula, like they are really like they need to have these games to succeed. They're like a way bigger company. But yeah, also for Rockstar, they could have like cranked out a couple of GTAs already, but they're taking their time, and I think it will be better for them in the future. But on the other hand, it would be cool if they also had another team working on new games instead of GTA Online content, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. Business is weird. That's the moral of that story. Let's shift into other things that are weird, and we'll keep chugging through these real quick.
Where do you want to go? Yeah, we talked about a lot of like Ubisoft stuff already. Like we can
I'm
continue
down.
with that, but we can like go to some other stuff as well, or like look at the chat real quick. Dragon's Dogma 2 impressions from your Luke seemed to like it. Yeah, we of course had the Dragon's Dogma. For people who don't know, the game is coming March 22nd, and it's looking really, really good. I really think this game is going to be bigger than we anticipate, because when the first game came out, the sort of Twitch content creator community was not really there. So I totally think this is like, it's like kind of a Souls-like, but also way different. So, but I still think a lot of those sort of people will jump on it next to the more open world RPG people. And yeah, it looks very deep. It's very cool that you can jump on these massive creatures and then stab them. A lot of depth. I already said that, but I think it looks pretty cool. And the new gameplay they showed is awesome. And yeah, it's coming out pretty soon. So I'll be keeping an eye on that for sure. I think the March 22nd window is perfect for it. I really think Capcom has another hit here.
Yeah, Capcom. Everybody sleeps on Capcom, but you shouldn't. Capcom knows what they're doing. But I mean, let's jump to this Sony bit, because we did just touch on Naughty Dog and some of their live service stuff. I mean, it's no mystery at this point. Sony has been dabbling in the live service realm. Jim Ryan made it very clear their mission for this generation was not just to sell a lot of consoles, but also they wanted to double down in the live service space. They wanted to basically maintain spending on single player games, but then take that spending, double it, but that secondary doubling amount is going to go towards live service games. And I think the assumption was you'll get the same number of single player games, same quality, and you'll get all these live service games. So it's just more content for you to pick from. But I think the blunder.
It sounds so great.
It sounds great. So great. I think the blunder, though,
super unrealistic.
Very unrealistic, specifically because they were tasking single player focused studios with making these live service games. And that's what we've seen with Naughty Dog, where they're forcing a single player, like expert team, literally world class, to do live service stuff in the form of The Last of Us Factions, which was supposed to be just a quick spin-off multiplayer mode that they blew up into its own standardized thing. And then Bungie comes along and is like, well, we don't think players will play this long term. Meanwhile, they're screwing up their own game at the same time. And it's just slowed the production of everything to a crawl. And so it's frustrated a lot of people.
Yeah, because they wanted they wanted 12 live service games before April 2026. That was their plan, and that was always kind of ambitious, because even though Herman Hulst, the boss of PlayStation Studios, said, yeah, we know that sounds like a lot, but these games will all speak to different audiences. So we know there's like a Twisted Metal game coming. Like that will obviously not take away from the Last of Us multiplayer game if that was still going to happen. So sure, those are different audiences. Still, those are games from, like, I think PlayStation, a lot of people that own a PlayStation 5 and are really keen on doing their or playing their exclusives are playing all of them. So I still think there will be some overlap. But of course, and yeah, these games are designed to be your only game. And that's, of course, a whole other discussion where there are a lot of those games already. It's super hard to compete. But yeah, now the news is that they are saying, okay, 12 is a bit too much. We're now going to 6. Those games, though, those 12 games are still in development, but they just delayed the 6 to beyond March 2026. So we will have to wait longer for them. But yeah, we should still get probably 3 this year or next year, and then 3 in 2025. So that's still quite a lot. While the output this generation from Sony has been 2 big single player games. This year we even only got 1, only Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy. And again, like, sure, they say we don't want to hammer the single player but development, but what I'm seeing with Guerrilla Games right now, they launched Horizon Forbidden West, they did the Burning Shores DLC, and I see people that worked on Horizon Forbidden West now working on the online project. Like, they get that, like, those people are also like very knowledgeable about the machines, about the combat, etc. They will be used for the online game. I think that will slow down the development of Horizon 3, because after Zero Dawn, they could immediately move on to Forbidden West. So I don't know, man. I don't think that's really the case. And also, like, many of the stories that we saw, for example, recently with the Creative Assembly game Hyenas, this sort of like shooter extraction team based, like it has like the funky characters and stuff. What they now said, like, they canceled that game after putting like hundreds of millions of dollars in it. It was like a very expensive game, and they're now saying Creative Assembly will return to the genres it knows best after Hyena's cancellation. And that's the news we've seen over and over again. After Anthem, BioWare goes back to what they know best. Probably Rocksteady after Suicide Squad, they will go back to what they know best, which is a single-player Batman type game. Like, how many times does it have to happen before these companies realize that you cannot turn a shoe store into a freaking, I don't know, a freaking bowling court or something?
Yeah.
Maybe that's a really weird analogy.
No, I think it's accurate. Like, if you say like you can't make a dentist into a spinal surgeon, like they're both specialized, but they're not the same thing. Like they both are in the same kind of field of medicine-ish, but they're not the same thing. And you know, I don't want my dentist working on my spine. Okay, I just don't. So I think it's unfortunate that it seems like all of this is trial by fire. Like, they have to learn the hard way for all of it. It's just very frustrating, because you would hope that after, like you said, they do it 3-4 times and lose hundreds of millions of dollars on failed projects, you'd hope that they'd figure it out and be like, maybe this doesn't work. But no, they keep doing it over and over and over again. And I think the big miscalculation is that a lot of these execs just thought that if you have Naughty Dog make an online game, or if you have Arcane make a live service game, or Rocksteady make a live service game, their fans will just hop on, play, and spend tons of money. But that's not a given. It's just not. And the audience and the gamers are frankly smarter than they thought they were, and they can tell what's happening. They can tell that the studio didn't really want to do this. They're being forced to do it. And it's not the kind of game that they wanted from this team. They're like, I'm a fan of Rocksteady because Rocksteady made these kinds of games. Not like, I'm not affiliated with Rockstar to this crazy obsessive degree where they can do no wrong. Very, very few studios are like that, and developers are like that. I think there's sycophantic people around like Todd Howard or Kojima where fans would forgive them for doing whatever they want to do. But most players are not like that. And when you're talking about a live service game, you have to appeal to most players, not the extreme on one side of the equation. And it's just unfortunate. But I mean, what's these leaks and rumors that have come out? I haven't pulled them up yet to show everybody.
No, that's kind of the same story.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like that they're like cutting down on their things, and there was also like one rumor that because I think that is the best way forward. Like, it would be stupid for Sony to completely ignore live service games, especially now that Xbox has Activision. They own the biggest console live service game, Call of Duty. So they have to do something. But I think it's smarter to have your teams that, like Naughty Dog, just focus on the single player games that bring people in to your ecosystem, and then those people will maybe spend the Fortnite dollars on PlayStation instead of Xbox. Like, focus on that, and then go buy live service focused studios, like they did with Bungie, obviously, to have that piece of the pie. Because so far I don't think we've seen a single player team successfully go make a live service game. Because also, I think someone else said that as well. Like, we of course had the Warner Bros. News where they were like, okay, we're gonna turn all our biggest franchises into live service games, while their biggest game this year was Hogwarts Legacy, a single player title. While Multiverses failed, Suicide Squad doesn't seem to like really set the world on fire, at least right now. So, okay, they're trying that. And I saw some people say, or like I think some developers or something, like they also noted, and I looked it up, and it's true, like these teams are super small. The Rocksteady is not like the Fortnite machine or the Call of Duty machine. Like, how many studios are working on Call of Duty? These seasons cost a ton to make. They're like, they had Toys for Bob that made Skylanders and Spyro work on Call of Duty mobs now. Otherwise, they can't keep up with the demand of these teams. So how are you even realistically going to support a live service game with a studio that is made to build single player games? Even like, not even mentioning that they don't have the knowledge. So it's always kind of weird. And we saw that with Crystal Dynamics as well. They were working on Tomb Raider, a game that they could just make, release, be done with, maybe do a custom DLC, some expansions. And now they had to make a new update every month. They don't have the size for that. So that's like another thing that all these executives seem to not understand, that it's just not as easy, because really the biggest live service games are made by 500 people in like the live team, and these companies don't even have 500 people to begin with. So
no, it's unfortunate, but people have been like, well, why are they doing this? Why don't they just stay happy with the money that they're making? It's just crucial for everybody to understand that publicly traded companies, the goal of executives is to service the shareholders. Like, that's the goal. That's the mission. And usually that follows that the CEO taking care of the shareholders means that the company does well, and therefore the employees are doing well. And if the employees have stock options as part of their bonus, then they're getting more money by getting all of that. And so like, typically like that, it tends to overlap in terms of motivations. But in the case of most corporations, especially in America, the goal is to service the shareholders, and that means growing the stock price. And in order to do that, you have to have organic growth in revenues. Everything's tied to growth. Like, if a company is not growing, it is dying. There is no like treading water. There's no maintaining. If you're not growing, you are dying. And that's what these companies are now faced with, is they're like, yeah, we sell 20 million copies of The Last of Us or whatever it is. And, you know, we sold 4 million copies of Phantom Liberty DLC and all this. That's great. Investors still and shareholders still need revenues to grow. Even if you had an amazing year this year, next year they're going to look for how you can outdo it. And so they're just looking for ways to expand those revenues, and live service, they think, is the magic panacea that's going to fix everything. And
which on paper it should be, because if you launch one live service game this year that continues to be supported and does well the next year, and then you launch another live service game, then you suddenly have two games that live alongside each other and make a ton of money. It sadly doesn't work like that, but that's of course kind of where they're probably looking at as well. But yeah, it's the age-old discussion, and so far we just haven't seen one of these tactics work out, apart from the Riot Games doing it very well. Like, HoYoverse somehow figuring out and is on the verge of launching their third live service game that will probably make them billions of dollars. So there are people out there that know it, but these companies have only made these types of games and studied them, and are not like this story-focused studio that now suddenly has to make daily missions. Like, that's we will I don't know. I'm still scared for Guerrilla Games. I hope that their game turns out well. But
Fingers crossed. Yeah, I think the next 18 months for Sony is also going to be very, very interesting because we're going to start to see a lot of these live service games coming out.
Did you, by the way, know that they haven't announced a new first-party single-player game since September 2021? Because that was that was when they announced Wolverine and Spider-Man 2.
Oh, yeah.
And in 2022, we did not have a PlayStation Showcase. And then this year, their PlayStation Showcase, their only first-party games were Fair Games, Concord, and Marathon. So it's like they say, yeah, we're doing we're still doing the same amount of single-player games, but you already kind of see that dwindle, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, and it's like they assure us Naughty Dog's working, Santa Monica's working, like, Insomniac's always working on stuff, but
yeah,
it's like I can't help but feel as though it's kind of a lull. We're hitting a lull. Yeah. And for me, it feels a lot less exciting. And I think it's the same sentiment that a lot of people have felt where, like E3 pre-COVID, like E3 2017, 18, 19. Well, I guess before 19, because Sony didn't go in 19. But like 2018 and before, E3 was an amazing time because you knew that Sony was going to come and drop a crazy trailer for the new Last of Us game. And then, they also have Santa Monica Studio there and they're going to announce this crazy thing. It was always so exciting. And now it feels like, well, we get maybe a 30-minute showcase once a year and then they announce like a trailer for Marathon, some live service BS. And it's like, okay, it's just a lot less exciting, I think, to be a PlayStation fan right now. We'll see what next year's
for
like.
Sure. But on the other hand, though, they have a lot of like question marks. Like for Xbox, we know everything they're doing, and they're doing some really exciting stuff. But for PlayStation, you have like I think half of the studios where you just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
The Days Gone team, Bluepoint that made the Demon's Souls remake. Housemarque, Santa Monica. Like what is Cory Barlog doing over there? Naughty Dog has a new single-player game, like you already mentioned, which probably Last of Us 3. But so the list goes on. Like Ghost of Tsushima 2, we know it's coming. Like maybe they want to have like a short release or reveal to release window. That would be cool. But it's
lots of question marks, though. You're right. And I guess we can close out with this. Talk about question marks. A very weird thing happened this point 2 days ago where Bethesda Game Studios' customer support started responding to negative reviews on the Starfield Steam page.
Only negative?
Do we know that? Maybe they also responded to positive ones.
Okay.
I can pull that up and check. But these are all still up. So this is all like confirmed. We were looking at this earlier on stream. Here, if you go recent reviews, you can see these are all like people that have played the game 173 hours, 29 hours, 75 hours, 570 hours, 4 hours, 20 hours, like lots of people with a lot of time that are just frustrated with the state of the game and some of the design choices. But you can see developers have responded to this. And if you click on it, I'm personally convinced that these are ChatGPT responses.
Really?
I think a lot of the verbiage is really, really weird. It doesn't sound like a human being. What it seems like to me is that this is like the developers took this, copy and pasted it into ChatGPT, and then also said using like this list of features, and they send a list of Starfield features, and they say using that list of features and things that Starfield can do, reply to this negative review. And it generates it. They might tweak it a little bit. But so many of the responses share very similar structure and phrasings. And beyond that, this would take a while to type out. And they've responded to dozens upon dozens of reviews, from what I can tell, at the very least. And so either they're spending like hours upon hours upon hours of time typing these out and writing messages and stuff, or they're just trying to use some new AI assisted reply to negative reviews that's really, really cringy. I mean, my personal favorite from this is a tweet Let me see if I can just pull this up. Where's my bookmarked tweets here? This one. Okay, you ready for this? So the review is just like, hey, I'm really frustrated because when I go to planets, they're empty and boring, and I'm just, I'm not that interested. Just as you would kind of expect. And they say, greetings. Thank you for taking the time to leave a review for Starfield. Quote, we are sorry that you did not like landing on different planets and are finding many of them empty, period. Some of Starfield's planets are meant to be empty by design. But that's not boring. Quote, I don't know who they're quoting.
You're wrong.
Here. Yeah, you're wrong though, you dumbass. Yeah. They say, quote, I don't know who they're quoting. When the astronauts went to the moon, there was nothing there. They certainly weren't bored, end quote. So like, again, you're just complaining. If you find the planets boring. Like what?
The astronauts, they actually...
It's like, yeah.
It's a fact that it's not boring.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not an astronaut. I'm playing a video game. What? The intention of Starfield's exploration is to evoke a feeling of smallness. You achieved that in players and make you feel overwhelmed by bugs. You can continue to explore and find worlds that do have resources you need or hidden outposts to look through. Like the fact that they thought that this was like a W is amazing. And most of these are coming from Bethesda _Falco Yamaoka. I don't know who that is. There's a couple of people. Bethesda Kraken was another one. Very similar structure. So at the very least, there's a handful of people doing this. I still think with AI, I'm convinced at this point.
But what do they hope to achieve? That people are like, oh no, you're right. I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10 now. Like,
I think
yeah.
I get the impression that this is like a team of customer support agents that are like, you know what? These people are not being fair. Let's push back a little. Because bear in mind, this is the same exact team, the Bethesda customer support team, that required people who got falsely banned in Fallout 76 for allegedly cheating. They require them to write essays, 500-word essays, and email it back explaining why cheating in multiplayer games is bad for the community, blah, blah, blah. And then they might consider unbanning them if they submitted the essay. Like, watch the Internet Historian video on it. It's crazy. This is like the same exact team that did that and thought that was a good idea. And so it's not crazy to me that they thought that this would be a good idea and potentially a good look, but it just makes them look insane.
If that's the same team, of course, but it's still like,
well, it's Bethesda customer support team. Like if it's the same people, who knows? But it's the same institution. Let's just say.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. Like it's so weird to me.
You can't say to your customer you're wrong. Like if this feels like middle school. Like you're like I drew something and then someone in my class like, I don't like it. Oh, you're wrong because you don't know. People like if people think that's boring, then that's your fault. You did not like your whole design philosophy of making 1,000 planets. Spoiler alert, it did not work out, sadly, for many people. And you must have known that when you were designing the game. And some people actually like it, but some don't. So that's obvious. Maybe they're really looking at it because I do get it that they're looking at those Steam reviews. Like Steam is kind of the holy place for a lot of these Bethesda games. It's where they live for years and years. And if you're already at a 6 out of 10, that's not a good look when you're like a few months after launch. So, and I think their support has been super slow. I think you covered the update, and I remember around launch, like 1 week after launch or something, they posted this article where they were like, "Oh, we hear your feedback. We're gonna do this, and we're gonna do maps, and we're gonna do the consume food." And I was like, "Hell yeah, let's go!" And you see games like Lords of the Fallen have already released 24 patches since launch, and now 2 months or even 2 months after release, they finally launched that Starfield update with like the only quality of life feature that being that you can immediately consume food, which was already in previous games. So it's weird, like what is happening here? Like how can this big team, because they still say many of their developers are working on Starfield. So they're probably doing the DLC then.
I mean, one
But
thing I saw personally was that after Starfield launched, I follow a lot of Bethesda's employees on Twitter. I don't know if they know I do, but I do.
Now they
And
do.
now they do. But I follow a lot of them, and many of them, I would dare to say like 80% of them were posting like pictures and stuff of them on like big vacations. So
Oh,
it
yeah.
seemed like
Makes sense.
everybody launched the game after like some crunch and headaches and stuff
Yeah.
and months of hard
That
work
makes sense.
and went on vacation. So I think that's probably why. But I mean, you're
No, but,
right. It's
I mean,
crazy
you
to like
see that
talk
for other
down.
games as well, but the patches are really like rapid. I think the Assassin's Creed teams are always super fast, especially with Odyssey. They had like quality of life stuff.
Unless it's for
months after
Drunken
launch.
Ivor. Yeah.
Yeah,
Drunken Ivor
yeah.
is probably still in the
No,
game.
but they patched that, but then it came back, and yeah. That's the whole thing. Like, I'm not saying those games are perfect, but there was like a new
Yeah.
patch to talk about every 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and I would say that the game is like Starfield was one of the biggest releases, maybe not in terms of critical reception, but in terms of like money and budget and stuff, it was. So it's kind of interesting that they're really taking their time over there. And now this, I don't know,
It's just
it
weird.
feels, it's super childish. It's like when the astronauts went to the moon, there was nothing there. They certainly that it does sound like I can't believe someone wrote that and it's like, yes, I got him.
Yeah.
I got this
Dumbass. Yeah.
this stupid, or that they're like at this office, they're like, watch this, and then they're like high-fiving, like, yeah, you totally showed him.
Yeah. It's so weird. And like there's this one where like the premise of the review is basically they played the whole game, as you can see, like they had 30 hours. They played the whole game through the whole story, and they were like, just honestly, the load times, the constant load screens, it's super disruptive, tears me out. It's not for me. Also, thank you, Booper. It's from a Bethesda spokesperson, apparently, is what they were quoting. I don't know why they'd be quoting somebody from their own company. That seems weird, but
Yeah, it's like
it's like, yeah, it's like, Michael Scott quoting himself for motivational speeches. But with this, it's like, we're sorry you're disappointed with encountering many load screens while playing, which again, ChatGPT does this where it'll ask you to like summarize and address the thing. And it will start by giving a quick summation of what it's reading to acknowledge that it knows what it's responding to, and then it'll respond. So that's very ChatGPT-esque. But they're like, while there may be loading screens, but in between fast traveling, just consider. So again, like kind of talking down to the player, like, stupid ass, you didn't think of this. Just consider the amount of data for the expansive gameplay that's procedurally generated to load flawlessly in under 3 seconds. We believe that shortcoming will not hinder our players from getting lost in the world we created. Starfield is an RPG with, and then it just like spits out a bunch of features from the website.
They put that under every. It's like a sort of signature under your email or something. Like they put it under every comment.
Yeah,
This sort
like
of like
big
Wikipedia
list.
summarize.
The one reason this might not be ChatGPT, or that I think it might have been like altered or hand typed or something, is because of like the clunkiness. There are so many layers to Starfield that you will find things you've never knew were possible. Like you've never knew.
Okay,
like little weird, little clunky.
Yeah. Oh, they copied that under every then. Yeah. It's the same on. Oh wow, yeah. This I'm feeling the chat GPT. Maybe that part is chat, and then the other one is like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. The whole thing is just really
It's weird.
And like,
I mean, like, let's not like. I don't think that responding to reviews is in like. The idea is not bad. You see it a lot for mobile games, actually. Like, people are like, oh, it doesn't run on, or I can't get past this loading time. And then the comments are usually trying to help the reviewer. They're like, oh, did you try this? Did you try this? Oh, can you otherwise file this back report so we can immediately get on it? Like, that is helping the reviewer. And you cannot say to someone who bought your product, no, you're wrong, you don't understand it. Then that's your issue. You are the creator. You you can't do this. It's wild that they have done this. And I saw some people like defend it as well. And again, I think that they might not have read the actual reviews, because again, I think commenting and saying, "Oh, I'm sorry that you did not like it. If any improvements that you want to see, we will put them in the doc. Let us know." I think that sort of response would be like, "Yeah, like sure." And then I think as a consumer, you're like, "Whoa, they're at least wanting to improve this game," because they're not saying that at all. They're not saying that, okay, yeah, we heard about the empty planets. In the next update, we're trying to change that a bit or make it. I mean, probably they don't have plans for that, but at least letting or having the feeling that you're hurt if you bought this game and don't like it already goes a long way, because you think you type a review, no one will read it. So actually having someone from Bethesda respond is kind of cool, but then getting this match is like, oh, screw you guys all the way. Like, what the heck?
It just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. It's like, and I understand. I'll try to be as clear with this, just so nobody gets it twisted. Like, we're not saying that the developers are the ones doing this. Like, yes, they have the developer tag, but that's something they just put if you're associated with the team that published it. So like, we're not saying that this is somebody sitting next to Todd Howard or it's actually Todd with a disguised account being like, screw you guys. We're not saying that, but it's part of the same team. It's part of the company. And as a part of a company, when you do something on the company's behalf, it reflects poorly on the company. And in this case, it's just freaking weird. And it reflects, I think, a company culture that we've seen do this type of thing repeatedly for years at this point. And it's like a sort of, they like don't want to acknowledge constructive criticism in any meaningful way. It's always about diverting and obfuscating and deflecting. And that's what it was with Fallout 76. And that seems to be what they're doing with Starfield as well. And this is why I've been so insistent with everybody. If you want your favorite studio, if it's BGS, to do better, you have to be honest. You have to be direct. And that's why I think, like, yeah, it sucks that people are not having as much fun with Starfield as they were hoping to. But I'm glad that people are making their voices heard through these reviews. This is how you get their attention. Todd is aware of these reviews now. And if he pulls this up himself, he will see that these are people that have played the game a lot. 75 hours, 200 hours. Like, these are people that have played the game a lot, carefully considered it, and have found it wanting. And the worst thing you could do is dismiss their opinions as that of haters or people that are just trying to get you down. It's like, no, they tried the game, they honestly engaged with it, and they just didn't find it to be very good by comparison. And I know people can be like, oh, well, you played the game for 200 hours. You're going to tell me now it's not very good. Like, some people are like that. Some people play the game for hundreds of hours to like evaluate it. It's just, I'm not like that. If I play the game for 20 hours and I'm sick of it, I just turn it off. But some people will be like, I hate this, and put 200 hours into it.
Yeah, but like, they bought it, so
yeah,
and they're already past their. So yeah, they of course like that's also like maybe a completely different topic, but it's kind of similar. Like, that's why I think on Game Pass the amount of people that finish games is way lower than on PlayStation, because people will just try it, don't like it, and move away, or I'm not as invested. And normally, if you bought the game, you would maybe push through. But now you're like, hey, there are 100 other games I can try. Let's do that. It's actually kind of wild that more people, I heard this on another podcast actually, but more people platinumed Spider-Man 2 than finished the main story of Starfield. That's crazy, right? That's crazy.
That is crazy.
And the main story for Starfield is like very easy to complete.
Yeah.
But I guess a lot of people are getting distracted, which I totally get. But
yeah, it is. I mean, that is a crazy stat. That breaks my brain. I mean, wow. Especially because Starfield had a lot of people playing it. Like, that's just
but
wild.
maybe that's obviously why. Like, it's like a percentage thing, right?
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
but still, like, but still, like, I think they said 13 million players. We know Spider-Man already sold more than 5 million, so it's not that big of a difference. And like Platinum, like, that's doing all the stupid, like, tiny things as well. So you have to be like dedicated for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know just anecdotally, I know a handful of people. Actually, the same guy I know, that one of my college buddies, he platinumed Spider-Man and platinumed Spider-Man 2. and he's the kind of guy that will platinum a lot of games. He was very excited for Starfield and didn't finish it. He got like 25 hours in and was like, I'm just bored out of my mind. And
do you think they will get a Renaissance Starfield? They will get the cyberpunk treatment like that in 2 years everyone will like, whoa, awesome, I'm back, I'm making penis ships again.
I mean, I think it'll get like a couple of updates here and there that might spark some fresh attempts, but I think just at the core of it as a concept, it's just not that compelling. Like, I know it sounds great on paper, 100 solar systems with 1,000 planets. Like, how could that not be crazy? But it's just not that fun to run around, mine some basic items, and then complete like copy and pasted activities all over the solar system. It just isn't that fun. And so I think like some expansions might be able to add a new storyline that could be really good.
Yeah.
Far Harbor for Fallout 4 almost single-handedly saves that entire game package. Like, Far Harbor's great. And if you ignore the main story of Fallout 4, I think that's the right move. But then engage with Far Harbor, it should be the replacement for the main story of Fallout 4. But like, does that make Fallout 4 as a package or as a game that much better? I don't think it really changes the math. I think it just makes it so. Yeah, Far Harbor's great. And if Starfield gets an update or an expansion that's awesome, I think it'll be... Yeah, the expansion's great. Starfield's still boring as hell, but the expansion was really good.
Yeah. I think what will happen is people will do the expansion and then maybe, I haven't finished this faction line, quest line yet, so I'm gonna do that. And then you quickly figure out, okay, that's kind of there. That's kind of it.
Yeah.
I did see someone though, and I do like that sort of stuff. That if you like play the New Game Plus very often, I'm not sure. Maybe we should not talk about it because it's kind of a spoiler. But there are like a lot of like cool things with the New Game Plus mode that people are still like discovering new things by replaying that. So I think their New Game Plus idea is super cool. It's just that the content that you have to do in that New Game Plus mode to get to the next New Game Plus run is the most boring stuff ever. Like going to this cave, getting the crystal, going back to your base, doing it again and again.
That's why I said at launch in my review, I was like, because I had a spreadsheet and I tracked objectives in the main story. And I'd have to pull it up. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but it was something like, over half of the objectives in the main story of Starfield are just fetch quests. It's go get this artifact, bring it back here. You do the little thing, and then go get this artifact, bring it back here. And it's just over and over and over and over and over and over again. And so I was like, I found it woefully lacking, but I think people are coming around to it and are starting to see that it just doesn't click as well as we were hoping.
Yeah, and Ryan is saying like, don't forget that the mod community had a better chance. Like if there will be like proper mod support, which I think there will be in the future, like that might help it. And hey, I'm gonna say it. What if it launches on PlayStation? I do think they will do it at one point.
You do? Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, at one point they've extracted everything from this game, right? Yeah. I don't think, and you even saw, that's the crazy part, like in some countries in the US, PlayStation is outselling Xbox 1-7. The Xbox Series X is selling less than the Xbox One in the same time in the generation. How is that possible with Game Pass and all that other stuff and them actually launching some big games like Starfield? In the month, we talked about it before, like that Starfield came out, the Xbox still sold less than the year before.
I mean,
in that same month. How is that possible?
Probably like the most... we've mentioned this a handful of times over the last few months, but one of the most baffling things about Xbox, I might have even copied this over here. Yeah, it was the Xbox chief financial officer, Tim Stewart. And what he said was that Xbox's mission is to bring its first party experiences and subscription services to every screen excuse me, that can play a game, including PlayStation and Nintendo. And this is a sentiment that they've echoed many, many times, where they want you to be able to play your Xbox games anywhere, not just on Xbox hardware. And it doesn't instill much confidence in your customers to buy an Xbox when you're saying, yeah, our goal is to bring it to PlayStation and Nintendo and your Windows device and your Mac and everything just to stream through xCloud. And it's because and I cannot stress this enough, if you listen to all of the interviews through Wall Street, everything they do, Xbox's approach to their gaming sector is more and more becoming identical to their approach to Windows as a software platform and as an operating system. They make Windows devices like the Windows Surface line, but most devices that Windows runs on are not made by Windows or Microsoft. It's made by Lenovo or HP or this or that, or Asus, whatever. And so their goal is to make software and distribute the software, and that's where they make their money. If they sell hardware, great, but that's not Microsoft's prime directive. Their prime directive is to sell and distribute the software. And so I think when it's natural for us to look at the Xbox sales of units versus PlayStation and then compare them and be like, wow, Xbox is failing. But I think that it's becoming more and more clear is not the goal of Xbox right now. Maybe it should be, but their goal is to distribute software, not to sell consoles.
I mean, that's what they had to do because they lost the worst generation they could lose, where everyone was making their digital library with the Xbox One and PS4. Like, it's very easy for people that have a PS4 and bought like hundreds of games to go to PS5, because it's the same why people stick with Android or iOS. Like, you bought all the apps already or whatever. So yeah, you're sticking mostly to one platform, and I think Xbox is seeing we're not. I think Phil even said it. Even if Starfield was an 11 out of 10, we would still not get a lot of people from PlayStation to come over, and that's kind of true. So I would not be surprised if at one point, I mean, for Call of Duty, they're already saying it, but what if they're also saying for other games, let's just launch it on PlayStation as well, at least this generation. Next generation, we will see, and maybe go for the exclusives again to build this sort of install base. But I think they're leaving a few million copies of Starfield on the table, probably. Elder Scrolls even more. And they're now doing the Fallout TV show. Like, wouldn't it be smart to have the next Fallout game also on PlayStation? Because then the whole franchise benefits from that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking way, way, way in the future. But maybe they will be looking at that because... And for Sony, it's kind of easy win because, like we talked about, they only launched a few big exclusives: God of War, Horizon, and Spider-Man, and of course some smaller ones like Returnal and stuff. But and those three are now enough that like all the people are going to the PlayStation, and Sony is like making free money with all the Fortnite skins that they take 30% off from. So I mean, I don't know if that's like a smart tactic from Xbox, because they're losing a lot of money from those free third-party sales they would otherwise have.
I mean, I agree. They're losing money. I think the goal though is to try and drive people to Game Pass, and I think that it's been clear, especially in the FTC hearings, that Microsoft's goal is to try and get PlayStation to allow Game Pass onto the PlayStation, which I mean, it makes sense. That kind of fulfills the vision of, Xbox is the distributor of games, and you can sign up for their service and you get Xbox games and you can play them anywhere, whether it's on PlayStation or also on Windows devices or xCloud on your phone or on your Xbox, whatever, but you can play them anywhere with Game Pass. So I don't know if they're holding back or they will continue to hold back in order to try and encourage PlayStation to let Game Pass onto PlayStation. I can't imagine Sony ever letting that happen, but maybe they do eventually. I don't know. But
yeah, I can see it happen at one point if they're really like Elder Scrolls. You can only have Elder Scrolls if it's on Game Pass, and then you also get all these other games. And we're just selling the Game Pass subscription, and you can still take the 30% from that. That might be better for them, because then you're really eliminating every reason for anyone to buy an Xbox.
Yeah.
Right? So that might be beneficial for Sony. Like, and that's what's interesting, because short term, this all doesn't look that great, but we also hear articles about the Gen Z Christmas like presents, like physical games. Only 20% asked for physical games. A lot of people ask for subscriptions. These can, of course, be other things, not only game things, accessories. Like like the young people that grow up right now, they are used to not even owning anything anymore. They're used to just having a subscription. And if Microsoft can be at the forefront of that, and like all these people grow up with the free to games and the sort of like mobile games that also are free. So a subscription is kind of an extension of that. So maybe having the $80, like, of course, we get older and we will continue to play games, so there will always be an audience for that. But once that newer audience gets older and older, I think Microsoft will be way better positioned with Game Pass. So that's also, of course, something to think of. And I want to thank Dom, by the way, for their first super chat. Hey guys, wanted to say thank you for the content you both produce. Glad the podcast is on my birthday. Well, happy birthday.
Yeah.
Also, Kong or Gollum or The Walking Dead Destinies for Game of the Year. I think Gollum is the best one of those, actually.
I've played Gollum and Kong.
Oh, really? Okay.
I pulled up videos of The Walking Dead Destinies, and I think like The Walking Dead Destinies, at least looks like a game. Kong is like bafflingly terrible. Gollum is also a game, and you can tell some people who worked on it cared. I think it's just not good at all. So I think Kong is probably the worst one among them for me, but because it's just bad. Like there's no part of it that's even slightly fun. There was clearly no passion. It's all like copy and pasted. They even have like a Hulk free asset animation from like the Unreal Engine store or whatever of like the Hulk thunder clap thing. It's so bad. Oh man.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for the super chat and happy birthday, my friend. Happy birthday. But yeah, I mean, it's lots of good stuff to chat about. I'm glad to be back and for us to get into the groove. What's crazy, and just let this settle in, the odds are very good that next week
I
on
know
the
what
show,
you're gonna say. GTA.
we're talking about GTA 6. Isn't that crazy?
I think it's gonna be December 5th or the 6th.
I think as well. Some people were saying maybe it's coming on the 1st. I don't think it makes sense for them to announce it on a Friday before the weekend.
No.
Yeah,
no, I think 5th. I think 5th or 6th. I mean, they had the announcement on Wednesday on the 6th. Would that be then? If they're like, because sometimes you see that they're for some reason sticking to the same day for all their, because that's like, I think the Wednesday is one of the best days to have a big announcement.
Yeah, I think when we looked it up, Red Dead Redemption 2, I think was announced on a Thursday. That's when the trailer at least dropped.
Yeah, but the day before, wasn't it not like that they were teasing it on Twitter like with like images, and then the next day they
I think they posted a wallpaper of like the red background and the guys riding on the horses. So they might do something like that. Some people were saying, they'll probably start a countdown timer, like a 2-day countdown timer. So there's like 48 hours. That would be
smart, actually, because then everyone else knows. Let's, and then I can like prepare. Like I think that would be the smartest, but I think they will just drop it. I think they will just, because then people will be diving in the YouTube freaking backend, figure out how long the trailer is.
Yeah.
Maybe if something is hidden in a playlist. I think it's like I think that's scary. And actually, what I thought about as well, and I will talk about in my Game Watch video that actually goes live after this update or podcast, is that it never really made sense to do it at the Game Watch, because then they would be sharing this trailer with a third party.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, for them, no way. Like you're giving your most precious like crystal to like someone you don't even really know. Yeah. So I don't think that was ever realistic.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's like you just have to ask, what does Take-Two get out of it that they would not get if they did it themselves? And there's literally nothing. Like they have
only big dick swinging. It's like, we are going to own the Game Awards and everyone else is going to be like, So, but I think best case scenario is going for the Tuesday or Wednesday. Have it die down as far as that can go with GTA, then do the Game Awards and have those games and announcements also get like their moment.
Yeah. Maybe on Friday the 1st, you drop a tweet with a wallpaper and then a link to a website page that has the countdown timer, and it's just a timer again for like 3-4 days. Let people lose their minds.
Yeah, I guess, but it's like, yeah, I mean that might like freaking Valhalla did it as well. They had like this 24-hour, it felt like, or 12-hour stream where this artist was like
Oh, I
drawing the.
forgot about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I streamed the whole thing, by the way. I did a live
Oh, you're a
reaction of the whole
trooper.
thing.
I remember, I think I pulled it up a couple times and I was like, no, it's still working on the feet.
Yeah, yeah. It was also like, and we already knew it was gonna be Vikings, and they were like, "Oh, is that a shield? Oh no, it's a tree." And then it's
Yeah.
like,
It was super cool, like, but it felt like, okay, this is pretty self-indulgent. Like, can you just announce it? Like, come on.
and I see people like say it's a pretty good idea. Sure, it's of two ways, but I'm kind of the mind that in this day and age where there are people's like their attention span is so short that saying, hey, in a few days, like just if you just drop it out of nowhere, I think the hype and the sort of adrenaline is like 10 times higher
But that's the
than
thing.
having like a countdown for 45 hours.
It's funny because for the same reason, I think it makes more sense and it drives more attention to do it with a long countdown. Because all of those, like, it's like Cartman waiting for the release of the Wii. It's, you know, pacing back and forth. There's going to be people that are like freaking out over the weekend, trying to sleep through the weekend to get to Tuesday or Monday or whatever, whenever it is, and just losing their minds. There's going to be people that are streaming 48 hours, streaming until the trailer drops, and you know it's going to be
that's
crazy.
right. People are yeah. That I mean that could be a way to do it. Yeah, or at least like giving some sort of heads up makes sense. Maybe Jason Schreier will have the
yeah, dude. I swear to God, if so Jason Schreier has a real talent for right as like a big announcement's coming out, just spoiling the crap out of it.
Yeah,
was it Fallout 4 that he spoiled like the trailer or something, and he got blacklisted?
No, he had like a script, and he said it was he spoiled the setting for the game. He had he had like the full script for the game, but he only shared I think the first page. So they did hold a lot of stuff back, but then. Yeah, Bethesda did not obviously like that.
Yeah, Bethesda was like,
and that was like 2 years, I think, even before the game was revealed.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was pretty hardcore.
But yeah, next week is gonna be crazy. Like poor Avatar. It's like
I know, right, man? It's just at this point, what can they do?
Yeah, nothing. Like I don't think it will matter actually that what. Maybe it will like create some hype. Like that's the only big game. Like if you're high and want to play something new, then that is the game that you could go to, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, next week is gonna be crazy with a lot of big stuff. And like the Game Awards, I think they're gonna be there's gonna be some pretty big stuff. Like I looked at the stuff that was announced last week or last year, and like Armored Core was announced for the first time, Remnant 2, like Judas, the game from Ken Levine, Hades 2. We had like release dates for Jedi Survivor, Final Fantasy 16, Diablo 4. So like all the big 2024 games that we know about will have at least a chance of being there. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. So
yeah, I'm excited. Next week's gonna be crazy. Just buckle up, everybody. Buckle up, Buckaroo. It's gonna be a busy one. Yeah. Final prediction, Metacritic predictions for Avatar, and then we can call it
74.
74. How long after launch is that? Are you saying is that final settled score, or like day of?
No, final settled. I think that's the easiest way because day off, like when do the reviews drop and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm guessing. Oh man, we've been pretty accurate before with our guesses.
Yeah, but we've been like similar. Maybe you are like different on this. Something tells me 74.
I'm gonna be optimistic. 77.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna be optimistic.
Well, what did Mirage get? Because we did nail that, I think.
I don't remember exactly.
76.
76. Yeah, we were both.
You really think it's gonna be higher than Mirage, or like the same?
I think it has an inherent Ubisoft tax a little bit. And then I think also like there's a good amount of baggage with it, but I do think there's going to be a lot of reviewers who do connect with the scope and scale. And so I think there's going to be some people that love it, and a lot of other people are going to be like, it's just kind of bleh. It's just very
yeah,
mediocre.
it overstays its welcome or something.
Yeah,
That's
so-
kind of what I think.
I don't think it's going to be like Starfield where some people love it and everybody else hates it. Like it's super polarizing. I think this is going to be either you love it or it's just fine. And I think
It's
that
like Far
lands it.
Cry 6, and that's a 73. I just looked it up. I didn't know that.
Oh,
before.
okay, yeah.
I think 74. We will see.
Oh,
But,
yeah,
like, it depends. If you're like a huge Avatar fan, you will probably love it.
yeah.
Although, like, the freaking villain, like Hubblewood Mercer, like, this is like the most generic villain ever. And they didn't even try. It feels like. I hope I'm wrong with that. But
Yeah,
it's
we'll
like your regular white guy, a regular old.
That's
man.
just Avatar, though. Avatar's
Yeah,
always
I
kind of
guess,
like that.
but like, what are they like restricted to those like you would think that you can like have some freedom and at least like that I think it's like said that we can't even fight Na'vi like that would be so cool for like an enemy faction like a rogue clan in the woods or something that's like a bandit clan or something.
Yeah.
But no,
And we do know
yeah.
that there are some, I think they've said this where there's like, maybe I'm not supposed to say that. I don't know. There are factions within the world of Avatar where there's some that are like part of the group inside the communities and some that kind of go off and are more stragglers. So you think that there's the potential for that where there's maybe like somebody that committed a crime within the community and was exiled, and so they're like the Aloy of that world, but they're like thieves or something, and so you have to worry about those. There's lots of stuff you could do with it, but who knows what
and
they
like
do.
that would create some like cool fights where you're fighting your own kind and like their own size and some variety. But
I think
no,
it's just at the end of the day for Avatar, it's going to come down to like if there's a lot more than what we know now, it's probably like high 70s, low 80s. It's probably that they've hidden stuff that's really, really good. If it's exactly what we've seen and nothing more, it's definitely lower in the 7s, probably high 6s. It's just a matter of how much.
Because we only play 2 hours, and if this is like the game, and then you will hit that point where the open world activities will feel samey really quick, which I'm kind of afraid of. Then
yeah.
But yeah, we will see next week. We will have something to talk about, I guess, or I'm not sure next week yet, but we will see.
I'm ready. I'm excited.
Me too.
Well, thanks you everybody. For watching. Yes, much love everybody. Thank you to everybody who followed on Twitch, all the subs today, the super chats on YouTube, Dum Dum, Sean, all of you guys are wonderful.
Yeah, super kind.
Appreciate all of you. This will be going up on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, podcasts, all of those places that you listen to podcasts. Go check us out there. Reviews would be greatly appreciated, as always.
And if you are in the Wrapped, if you are, show it to us.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Show us your Wrapped. And we will be thankful.
Spotify Wrapped.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. Okay. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. Much love. We'll see you soon. Hugs and kisses.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.